Now, let us pile up the topic of crop improvement with the lesson dedicated to biopesticides. Now, we were talking about how can we improve the crop produce in a field, and you cannot skip the dangers that are inherent dangers that lie on the crop field. One is of pests, the insects that come and eat it, and one is of weeds, the unwanted plants that can come and eat your or deprive the crop from the nutrition it needs. So, for covering that up and for avoiding the chemical fertilizers and insecticides, we have biopesticides. Now, what are biopesticides? Biopesticides are living controlling agents. They are those living organisms which act as controlling agents against pests, weeds, insects, etc. Now, we are going to deal with weeds and insects. Those living organisms or controlling agents which control the insects are bioinsecticides. Side word comes, that means it kills it. So, we have living insect killer, that would be a bioinsecticide, and we have bioherbicide, that would kill the herb. Alright, so we are going to deal with these two. But first of all, you need to know what is a biopesticide. It would be a living controlling agent, biological controlling agent, which would work against the pests, weeds, insects, etc. inside a field. Now, why do we have biopesticides? The reason is that the chemical insecticides that had been in use for a prolonged period, they create a huge amount of, they have a large amount of toll on the ecosystem. Field ecosystems are affected to great levels. Okay? The field ecosystem is affected by chemical insecticides and herbicides. Not only one variety, many varieties of the plants could be consumed by single chemical insecticide, chemical herbicide, or instead if you are using chemical pesticide, many insects could be killed which are otherwise useful in the field ecosystem. So, in order to avoid that, a rather specific bioinsecticide and bioherbicide approach is used. We have the example of bioinsecticide in the form of spores of BT, that is Bacillus Thuringiensis. Bacillus Thuringiensis is a bacteria that produces cryproteins. Now, these cryproteins have a highly targeted insecticidal property. Okay, it is very much effective insecticidal properties. It is very much effective against Lepidopteran class of insects. So, these cryproteins along with an inert carrier and spores of this BT are sprayed on the plants and they act as bioinsecticide. You are not using any chemical to kill the insects, rather you are using a protein that is produced by a living organism with its inert carrier in the form of spores. It would be sprayed and you can target the given class of insects. So, this is an example of bioinsecticide. What about bioherbicides? You know, there is a big problem of weeds in a field. These weeds come and take away the nutrition. They are effective, means they cause a lot of problem for the crop plant. So, we have to get rid of these weeds. But how do we get rid of these weeds? Either we have the option of chemical weedicides or herbicides, or we have the option of bioherbicides. Now, bioherbicides, why, from where we have taken the idea that living plant can be harmful for the other plant? We study amensalism. In amensalism, we see that some plant is producing chemicals which do not allow the growth of other plants. Apart from that, we have GM crops like GM tomato, we have GM potato. They are not allowing any growth of weeds around it, but not everyone can afford GM crops at present. Moreover, there are many problems and many checks and you know, rules and regulations for introduction of GM crops. So what is to be done? We have in nature the example of smoother crops. Now what are these smoother crops? These smoother crops are crops like barley, rye, etc., which sorghum of course. These crops, they do not allow growth of wheat in their presence, weeds, not wheat, weeds in their presence. So we can either utilize smoother crops, and one example that I want you to understand in the case of bioherbicide, these smoother crops are also bioherbicides, and one particular example which is part of our syllabus that is to be studied is cochineal insect. Now you pick some living organism from the food chain that feeds on that particular herb and make it bioherbicide. How innovative is that, and how environment friendly you can relate it. This cochineal insect has the scientific name of Cactoblastis cactuna. Now, what you get an idea is that something related to cactus it must be, Cactoblastis cactuna. This is the insect whose natural prey is Opuntia. Now, Opuntia is a type of cactus that is a natural weed. It has diversely spread itself in India and Australia. So, in order to overcome this you know, diverse growth of Opuntia in the field ecosystems, this insect, cochineal insect, was introduced as a bioherbicide that naturally feeds on Opuntia. So, you are utilizing the natural predators as bioherbicides or otherwise as bioinsecticides and making them into use as biopesticides. So this is all about biopesticides that you have to understand, and with this we come to the end of crop improvement. This is all the human race knows in terms of crop improvement. With time we are going to improve many other ways. We are going to make our understanding more diverse about the field ecosystems, and that will increase the methods by which we can improve the crops, but for now this is all we have.